And when that, I guess that's, like obviously I've never stole a Durango and or stole sorry, stole a Chevrolet and drove down to Durango and
Yet.
yet.
Angola by 18 when they caught me. Said in 5 to 10 years I'll finally be free. I got out early, stole a Chevrolet. I made it down to Durango, thought I got away. Everybody loves an outlaw till you get caught.
Welcome to the Marinade, a free-flowing conversation about the creative process with creative people. Each episode we welcome musicians, actors, comedians, authors, visual artists, filmmakers, anyone who creates art to talk about how and why we make stuff. This is episode 199, y'all, and our guest is Will Payne Harrison. Will is a singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, photographer, videographer, just all-around great producer, great dude, all-around great dude. Originally from Louisiana, who now makes his home in Nashville, Tennessee. His latest record, Stll Feelin The Payne, is out now. Y'all, I've known Will for years, and this is a long overdue conversation. It's such a pleasure to bring you my conversation with Will Payne Harrison.
And you're a dirty convict, and they hope you rot.
Can you hear
It
me?
ain't the
Yeah, you sound
best
good.
life.
Okay.
Always watching your
I'm trying out
back,
this new Zoom thing as a
constantly rambling.
Oh, right on.
Covering
Yeah.
What-
your tracks.
wasn't sure if it was working.
Everybody
Got
loves
an
an
H4N.
outlaw till you
H4
get
Essential, it's the new one.
Okay.
It's
got
close to
uh,
my Ford,
oh, you got the old one, yeah.
Yeah.
on a rig on
This
the
one's
coast,
32-bit float.
trying to
which is
rebuild
pretty
my
cool.
life.
Hell yeah, man. Well, yeah, you sound good.
My sons followed
Cool.
my
Awesome.
footsteps.
Yeah, I just started doing.
They all blame me.
I got one of our Patreon patrons gave me a Roadcaster.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, so I'm just trying to figure it out, and it like looks real simple. Everything looks like it should be a piece of cake, and I have no fucking idea what I'm doing. But I finally figured it out with the last Life's Greatest Hits episode. We had a guest on for the first time, and I felt like a pro. It was really nice. So yeah, man, thanks for doing this. I'm excited. I can't believe it's been this long.
Yeah.
Like we're finally sitting down to do this properly.
I know, yeah. Thank you for having me, man. Yeah. I love this show and I know it's gonna be easy talk.
Hell
'Cause I
yeah.
already know you.
Yeah, I know. It's always fun chatting with somebody you know, and then also tempting to just get in the weeds, and maybe we will. Let's see how it goes. How you feeling first of all? Record's about to come out. We're recording this on Wednesday. Record comes out on Friday. How you feeling?
Underprepared.
Mm.
Yeah. I've been doing this how long have I been promoting this record, but I just still I still don't feel prepared.
Well, do you ever think like okay, so I know on the last one you were working with a PR person. This one, if I remember correctly, and this one is all you.
Yes.
Also, you wrote these songs. Did you produce this record?
Yes.
You produced the record. You wrote the songs. You played a lot of the stuff on it. Um, that sounds to me like an incredibly overwhelming experience. So it makes sense to me that you might not necessarily feel ready, despite the fact that, hey, you've put in all the work and you're probably more, prepared, was the word you used, more prepared than you think. But how different was this record from other things you've done?
Yeah. Well, first I'll say like I have a background in PR, so I know what it's like because I've done PR for people to
Yeah.
be prepared for it. And because there's so much going on, like you said, you've already mentioned, there are a lot of cracks that
Mm.
are being, getting slipped through. And I think that's why I'm like, I'm not prepared because I can't take on a full PR role like I could for someone else in the past because I also have so many uh, things on the back burner, so many coals on the fire. But what's different, I think, about this record? I think I finally believed in myself on some things that maybe I haven't in the past, which would include like lead guitar and harmonies. So there's only a few parts that aren't lead guitar by me on the record, and there's only a few parts that aren't male harmonies, or except for like Matt Moran, are almost all done by me. So I definitely leaned on talents that I felt like maybe I lacked a little bit in the past, and kind of proved myself wrong on this record.
Well, you listen to this show, you know how we talk about imposter syndrome a lot or like doubting yourself a lot. Can you talk about, and that was my word, imposter syndrome, but like the
That's
doubting
the
of your,
word.
yeah, the doubting of yourself in those particular areas. Cause like, especially with as much, you've been at this a long time and you're very well respected among your peers. Like what got you to, first of all, where do you think that sort of doubt came from? And then what got you through it?
Well, I think the doubt is just that so like when I play lead guitar for like Van Plating, for instance, there's a little bit of country in it, but it's more of like a rock and roll thing, which is more what I grew up playing lead guitar on. So I
Mhm.
think it was really a challenge to do more full on honky tonk. I've always played acoustic guitar when I played honky tonk. So like going out on the road all summer long, I've played 100% electric guitar. So I had to rethink the way that I was playing while I was singing, and also incorporate those solos into a three-piece band.
Mm.
So it was like a whole new experience on the live level, but also on the record. There were several people that I reached out to that really wanted to work on it, that are, well-known names, but just didn't have the time or bandwidth to do it. And so when those things fell through, I was just like, you know what? I don't feel like we've already like pushed it back some and pushed it back some to try to get these people on the record. I don't feel like pushing it back more by trying to find someone else to do these parts. I'm just going to do them myself because I have the studio space, I have the time and ability to do it. So yeah, I remember sitting in my home studio and just kind of plugging in with, and not even with the amp on, and just like coming up with the parts, writing them to what was recorded already, and then once I felt like I had the parts, then I'd turn on the amp, start recording, and get the take. So yeah, I spent, it was almost like writing the lyrics, where I was refining the guitar parts until I got them right.
So it's the confidence came, do you think the confidence came from that like that process of revision?
Um, yeah, I think the imposter syndrome kind of has to leave when you listen back and you're like, no, wait, this is good. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
this was me,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah. Who is that
Yeah,
man? Yeah.
right. You can't deny it, because like you listen back and you're like, that's actually good. I don't know how I did it, but that was good.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it's interesting how and it's different for people maybe that are doing it for, do it professionally versus somebody who dabbles or something. Like I know, like for me, um, it just depends on the mood that I'm in when I re-listen to something, whether it's a podcast or it's something I've played or sung. Because I know I've got my own imposter syndromes, right? And like my big thing is my guitar playing, which I'm not a great guitar player. That's not me being modest. I'm just not. I'm just a pretty rudimentary guitar player. But but when I listen back to it, I'm like, dude, you're not that bad, right? You're really not that bad. And getting out of your own head, I'm interested that I never really thought about like the revision process being something that might be very helpful. Like the just kind of getting to it and doing the work. And it sounds like you sort of out of necessity just kind of had to, right? You had these songs, the folks that you might have had on the record weren't available. Hey, it falls on you, buddy. And sort of that necessity can really be helpful too.
I think yeah, I definitely didn't believe in myself before as much before the record. I just kind of had to, yeah, out of necessity. I'm definitely a DIY till I die kind of guy, and I'm not, you know, I the thing that I've noticed is that things fall apart if I don't just make them happen.
Mm.
So a lot of times, and this happens in Nashville with a lot of people, where they have like they're really excited about a project, and then something falls through, and they're waiting and they're waiting and they're waiting, and then all of a sudden, like it just, you know, that excitement's done and they're done with that project and it gets shelved or it's not finished. And I don't ever want to do that. Like I want to
Mm.
put out the product. You know, I so for me it's kind of yeah, it had to be a necessity. I was just like, you know, this may not be exactly what I wanted initially, but I think that in a way it was almost better because it's not that I'm a better player necessarily than the people that I initially wanted to be on the record. It's that now I have the confidence to go out and play that live because it's my lick, you know.
Mm.
Whereas if it was like something more complicated that someone else did, I might be like, ooh, I'll just play the rhythm part here.
Okay, so all right, that brings me kind of back to something you said earlier. You kind of mentioned briefly sort of your origins, and how like comfortable, how you're more comfortable playing in Van Plating's band, for example. That's a little bit more rock and roll, than the honky tonk stuff on this record. But for folks listening, my bucket is very needy at the moment, and
His name's Bucket.
his name's Bucket. Yeah.
No way. I told you that I had a rat terrier named Bucky.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
did. Yeah. Yeah, I call
Looks
him
so
Buck
much
for
like him.
short. Yeah, one of my friends calls him Bucky too. So actually
Yeah.
my grandma's been calling him Bucky. That's who's been calling him.
Oh
So
my gosh. The
but
only
he's
difference is Bucky had a way longer snout. He had
mm.
some fox terrier in him.
Yeah, I don't know what people have guessed, like maybe Beagle when they look at his snout, you know?
I can see
Um
it. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Jack Russell, a
Definitely
lot
a
of
lot of
people
rat.
guess.
No,
Yeah.
it's rat. It's rat terrier
Yeah, he's a
for
good
sure.
boy. But he just hit the microphone for everybody. He's being very needy and I'm here for it. Um But like, what was your? Because despite the fact that we've known each other for a while, I don't know if I've ever really talked to you about kind of your early musical life and education. The things that you were listening to. When did you first pick up an instrument? What was that instrument? Because at this point, you play all kinds of shit. So like,
Yeah.
what was that musical sort of education for you like?
Um, so in like middle school, I picked up bass first. Mainly it was because all my friends were playing guitar, and to start a band, I needed to play bass, right? And the first thing I remember playing was "Smells Like Teen Spirit." Um,
Hell yeah.
the first thing I remember playing, like actually like live, and I remember like even like my hands shaking and sweating, was Green Day's "When I Come Around" in the talent show
Mm-hmm.
in ninth grade.
Word.
Uh, Um, so that was around that time. I was totally like 90s, you know, like I was listening to Nirvana and Green Day and anything but country, honestly, because I was from
Mm.
a small town where everyone was a redneck and I was trying to, you know, maybe branch out a little bit. So I remember like, oh, shoot, I wish I could remember all the stuff. I mean, Bad Religion,
Mm.
Operation Ivy, Rancid. I loved a lot of punk
Mm.
stuff. You know, this is seventh grade, eighth grade Will with his headphones on, Smashing Pumpkins.
Mm-hmm.
I remember having the Batman Forever soundtrack.
That soundtrack
Um,
slapped, dude.
yeah.
Yeah.
But my first record was Dookie.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Okay. With the
They're
hidden
my first
track at the
CD.
end. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one thing. I'm glad that physical media's kind of has made a comeback and continues to come back. And I'm really hoping that this backlash, whatever backlash we've seen to Spotify specifically, continues some momentum and that people go back to physical copies. There was such a thrill to that secret track being at the end, and that's probably Dookie's probably the first one I can remember that had that. I remember a Gary Allen CD had it on there, and that was the first country CD I could remember that had a hidden track on it, and it was just so cool.
It was kind of like the Marvel movies with the end credit, you know?
Yeah,
That was
Y-
like the OG version.
yeah, there was something really special about that, and we can go on and on. I talk about physical media all the time, but that's really cool that was your education, especially when we fast forward all these years later and listen to this very honky tonk record, right? And very much in my wheelhouse for sure. Sonically, it's been a joy to listen to this record so much.
Oh, thank you.
I've had it for months now, and I listened to it several times on my way up to Bonnaroo, and then the last few days preparing for this, it's been just on repeat. And there's like there's so much. I'm trying to think how to phrase this. There's so much going on musically. And this comes through in Van Play. We mentioned Van earlier, like Van Plating's records too. Like there's a whole lot of
Hmm.
stuff going on, and to make all that stuff sound like it's not going on, I'm listening for it, right? I'm listening for it to pick it apart because I'm wanting to talk to you about it. But it comes together seamlessly, and I'm interested in that process for you as a writer and a producer, thinking about all the elements that you need to fuse in there and how you're bringing it together, especially given that you wrote the songs and you're doing the production.
Yeah, since I've been producing, for I mean almost a decade. The only
Mm,
record I really didn't produce or co-produce was in the last, like, as a Will Payne Harrison record. It was Living with Ghosts, which Brett
mm,
Stewart did. I just gave him full control on that one, but so I've been doing it for a while, and I've done the overdoing, everything. Um, One of my tricks, and I think Van Plating's very similar in this, is I may overdo it initially. I may have like 14 guitar tracks, and then like, ugh, some of this just doesn't work. Like something's muddy here. It just doesn't fit. So not being afraid to pull out stuff, and kind of sculpt it in that way. And then maybe like
mm.
that guitar lick was super cool in this one section, so you just drop it in for that. Or that piano part was really cool here. But a lot of it is like also mixing tricks too, where uh, you know, maybe the piano is playing the entire track, but we're really only like bringing it up for the choruses, and then we're really pulling it back and maybe just throwing it in the left ear or something. Like little, there might be a little bit of candy in that back left ear occasionally, and then it comes in real full in the chorus to really make it feel bigger.
What is that for you in the writing process? Like, what does that look like? Well, I guess maybe the writing process more generally, right? You've given us a little bit of a window into it when you're going for the finished product and you're putting the guitar on it. You've led us into what that looks like. But by that point, the song is written, and I'm interested in sort of start to finish. What does your process look like, especially given the thematically this record has several different themes as I hear it. And so I'm interested in that because it all works together, and yet there are several different themes and several different perspectives on the record. So what is your, just to start out kind of zooming out, what does your process look like? And then I want to kind of zoom back into the album itself.
There's not really a process, to be completely honest. I just write the songs as they come, and there's one that was fully produced. Everything was recorded. I haven't mixed it yet, but it got pulled from the record because it didn't make sense with the record.
Mm,
And it was more of like a Appalachian gospel song, it just didn't make sense on the record. But it got written with all the other songs in that time frame. And there's also another one about my grandpa that was a little bit more. I don't know how to explain it. The production would have had to have been a little bit more like clean country, like maybe like what was the song I did on the last record? Simple Truths or something like that, where it's like a
mhm,
little bit more of a clean, almost like, I mean, I didn't do it pop, it was still indie, but like a little bit more mainstream, like radio friendly kind of thing.
mm,
And those two tracks just didn't make sense for the rest of the record. Like you said, thematically, there's the 10-year town. Like I'm really pissed, not pissed, but annoyed with Nashville. And like,
mhm.
this is like kind of my venting about all the shit I have to put up with. Sorry, can we curse on this? I don't
You
know.
can curse all you fucking want, buddy.
That I have to put up with living in this town. But then, obviously there's a lot of like looking back at Louisiana, and and then tying that all in together with like being a parent and wanting to be out on the road. So there's all those things are like real real world, what Will Payne Harrison deals with, and trying to make it all work because you've got the desk job where you got to sit and stare at screens. You got the dad time, daddy daughter time. That's real, and you got to get back out on the road. And somehow this summer I made it work. Very tired, a little jet lagged, but
Uh,
not even sure what the next step is. You know,
huh.
it's wild because like a couple of days ago I did a radio thing. I just had the Americana Highways did a review, which is super awesome.
Yeah,
Like
that's great. Yeah.
I feel like and to be on this podcast, I'm so excited. I'm so excited that people are wanting to work with me
Mm,
when I'm not really able to like go in a month or two ahead of time and be like, hey, like doing all the like follow up and all that stuff that like a lot of the PR people have to do. I
mm,
just don't have the bandwidth for that because I've been in the UK for 2 weeks, trying to share the record with people over there, and I'm just so happy that I've been able to, on top of everything that's been going on, trying to be a dad, having to work a day job, that people are still wanting to uh, talk about the record. That's been awesome, and I really appreciate that you are taking your time doing the
dude, my
podcast.
pleasure. Yeah, I mean, my pleasure. I'm a fan of yours as a musician and as a person, and like I'm really excited for folks to hear these songs. And it's one of the things that I wanted to ask you about was when I listened to Daddy Daughter Time, what a beautiful, tribute that is to sort of that balance that you have to strike, and then also your love for your daughter. Um, what and your daughter's still relatively young, right? Like so like what in that time and that, you know, short magical time you've had with her, you've been a recording artist the whole time. You've been working, you've been doing all these things, not only your own projects, but working on other people's projects and playing in other people's bands. And like, what lessons have you learned over that time about how to make sure that you show up to be the dad that I know you strive to be?
Um, I think that when because I've always been a single dad, and up until um, now I have my fiance who is stepping up as kind of a stepmother figure to her. But Evelyn will be 5 in a few months.
Mm,
She's going to pre-K and doing all that stuff. I've really like given every single moment that I could. Like I didn't tour Tioga Titan hardly any because I had a strong PR campaign, but I didn't really get to tour very much on it because I was so focused on being a dad, and it was so important to build that relationship with her, that it kind of that song is about, and giving her as much time and effort as I possibly could because I wanted to like build that relationship with her, and for her to always know that I would be there. And I think that
mm,
now she knows that. Um, I still like every single like this is real. I was in Nottingham. We were playing at uh, uh, we were playing in Nottingham. The name of the venue is Circle the Wagon, which I've been told on threads is derogatory towards native people.
mm,
Obviously, this is a UK venue. I don't think they meant any harm towards it. But anyway, that's the name of the venue. I was playing there and I was playing the song, and I started like tearing up, and I had to like take a break from the song for a second because it had been like over a week since I'd seen her. And
mm,
the longest I've gone without seeing her has been about a week or a week and a half, in 4.5 years. So it was definitely tough, and I knew I needed to do it, and everything's good. And I saw her yesterday, but it's definitely, all that to say, it's a crazy balance to like do all that work, but we're in a point where I think that now that we've established such a tight relationship, that doing runs where maybe it's a little bit longer here and there, I don't feel as bad about, because we've established a close bond. But it's still, I have to like, I'm not going to be Johnny Cash or Merle Haggard where you go out for like 3 months and don't even know what's up with your kids. I'm not going to
mm.
be that guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's so I wanted to ask you about it just because I think like, a lot of times, women get asked that question a lot, right? Whereas men don't get asked it as often. And
Yeah.
I know how, you've spoken quite a bit about how serious you are about your daughter and your relationship with your daughter, and you're fairly public about how much you love her and how much you want to be there for her and be a good dad. And I'm just fascinated by that balance and like how you do it. I mean, I think about like just all the things you named. I have similar, you know, I have a similarly overloaded schedule a lot of the time, except in the summers. Don't cry for me in the summers. But I just got this. I got pups. I don't have like my offspring that I'm worried about in that case. So that equation is really interesting, and I'm glad that you were able to get out on the road this time. I'm glad that you were able to get out and feel that, uh, and hopefully find that balance going forward, because it's got to be tough, man. It's got to be tough to be able to try and do all that stuff. So, all right. So again, one of the themes that you mentioned earlier is just that idea of Nashville as the 10-year town. And like, a lot of my friends live in Nashville. A lot of y'all are just, busting your ass, working the day job, picking up side hustles, working, doing studio work, co-writing with folks, all, and making your own records. And it sounds, it looks and sounds romantic from the outside, and then when you start to get to know people and the things that how much work they're putting in, you start going, God damn, man, that is something else. What keeps you going? Like, what continues to motivate you to do all this work and stay fired up about it? Because you're doing it at a high level. So like, what keeps you fired up?
Yeah, me and Matt have a lot of heart-to-heart conversations, especially since we spent most of the summer together about all this. And it's kind of it's just in your DNA
Mm.
is the best way to say it. And you can see when it's not in some people's DNA because they don't like there's people that just want to like be famous or be known or sing and not like put in the work. And then, there's just like there's a lot of guys like me and Matt out there on the I mean, there's so many that aren't like huge. Just to name a few that I've kind of kept in the orbit of, like Emily Ninny's a great example. She's working so hard.
She's so good.
I see Pony Bradshaw
So good.
working so hard, like, and I don't really know Corb Lund. I only like through like social media and stuff like that. I see that he's like trying to work really hard. Um, and all the other guys that have made it, like Sturgill Simpson, Tyler Childers, and all those guys, they worked really hard too. And they finally got to see the payoff. The one thing that I will say is that there's a lot of us out there that would just keep doing it even if we don't get that success. If we don't see the success like Sturgill and Tyler, I'm still going to be like 60 years old and going out there and doing it. I'll be like Jim Lauderdale, just road
Yeah.
dogging it and being like real middle of the road.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Jim probably has that mailbox money that keeps him afloat,
That's
though.
true. He
So
does.
there's
Yeah.
that. I've always wondered that. I've had the chance to interview Jim before, and I'm trying to get him on again one of these days soon. It fell through last time we tried to do it, but he always plays Swanee, and he does seem to have like an ideal life. But he did write number one hits for George Strait, so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
probably
That'll help you out a lot. Yeah.
that'll keep you on
I
the
don't
road.
have that. Yeah.
It'll keep you on the road for a while.
Yeah.
Um, there's like I was listening to the record again today on my commute, and basically I had to listen to it one more time through. And there's a run, and it dropped me. It hit me in the first listen too. There's a run from like I would say from High as Willie, which is the fifth track on the record, through Play It by Beer.
Mhm.
That it feels like it kicks into a different gear. And I don't mean that those songs are better than the other songs. I just mean that like there's like a um and maybe even just from a tempo standpoint, but it made me think about sequencing with your record, and how much, especially as you're wrestling with different themes, like how you thought through what the sequencing would sound like, or would look like rather.
Um, so hi is Willie.
And then I Ain't the Man for You.
Oh, play yeah. Freetown and play it by beer. like kind of slows down a little bit. You know, I was kind of trying to um y- y- this might sound a little heady, but
Mm.
it's almost like you want to pace it like a movie.
Mm.
And uh you know, everybody has their own reasons for everything. Sometimes it's because it's storytelling. I think that these tracks will tell the story in whatever order they're in. Um,
Mm.
so I am proud of that. I don't think that there's like necessarily like it has to be a sequential way. For me, it was like I want to. It's kind of, I think the last record I did, Pretty Little Dancer, was the first track, which kind of has like a Cajun-y fiddle at the beginning. So it just kind of like I want that first bit to be like, hey, here, you know what you're listening to. And then it kind of was just like I really want to hit them with a like 1-2 punching, like keep them in with that energy for the first few, and then once they've got that like adrenaline rush, then we can get like the sad, sweeter side in, and maybe you'll appreciate that, and then ends on the stage brush, which I think of all the production and mixing on the record was the one that came out best in my personal opinion.
Hmm. I think it's my favorite track on the record. That's tough though, because I also am pretty partial to "I Ain't the Man for You," and maybe that's just because my buddies are on those two tracks. But sorry, it's compounded by Bucket making another appearance.
That
But
was the
also,
first time that me and Van had a little spat. It wasn't really a spat. It was just like a disagreement on. Hopefully, I'm not. We can take this out if she doesn't want it on there. But um, so she did like double violins. Sometimes I think maybe even triple violins on some parts.
mm,
Really spent like a lot of time um, creating the soundscape of violins because I wanted it to have that like kind of Texas swingy kind of uh, double, triple violin sound, and she did awesome. And then I really wanted to put like a um, lap steel in it because just to kind of give that Ernest Tubbs kind of vibe to it a little harder.
hmm.
And she was like, I worked so hard on that, and you're going to cut this part out. Like this is perfect the way it is. So we had like a little bit. Well, and I initially didn't want it to be a. I didn't think it made sense as a duet.
Mm,
So there was actually, yeah, we had a little bit of so I guess you could say she kind of co-produced that one track because we definitely had a little bit of difference in opinion, and I did relent because I think that in the end I was like, give me a day and I'll sit with it. And I had to get outside of myself, and I think that is important to look at the track as what's the best for the track and the listener, not like what you're close to. Because that song, we won't say who it's about, but it's a close to home song.
yeah.
Um, and I felt like maybe it lost some of the message at first initially, but I gave it some time and sat with it because it's really hard to like have a song in your head and be like, this is the way it's going to be, and then someone goes like, try all these different things that kind of change the tone and message of it, and you're like, oh, so we did have like a day or two where we had a not a spat, but just a disagreement on it, and then I came around, and I think that it's all the better for it because I think that if we would have done it my way, it wouldn't have had the same impact that Van added to the track.
I'm so glad you mentioned all of this because I know Van quite well, and I want to unpack some of this a little bit
Oh,
more if we can. Because you and Van are good friends, right? You know each other really
yeah,
well. You're very close, as well as being collaborators, frequent collaborators, right?
yeah.
So, she, I'm sure, knew the close to home nature of that song, right? Probably
Hmm.
knew who you were talking about, and I wonder when in that aspect like how much that dynamic either helped or hindered the whole situation for you in terms of making the decision about whether to go her direction or to stick to your guns.
Well, I think that it was, and to be completely frank, I don't play it live
Mm,
because it's still a little raw for me. but
Mhm.
uh not a little raw for me, but like just there's I don't know. I it's a lot harder when it's like a, there's some truth of Will Payne Harrison in every song, but there's not 100% truth in every song. And some of them are like 100% truth, and so they can be a little close to home. So I haven't even played it out on the road. I probably should. Once me and Van get some chance to do some dates together, we definitely will. Um, but I think that just um, hmm. To be completely honest, it was just kind of like a fuck you to someone who really hurt me, right?
Yeah.
Years ago. This is the oldest song. This was actually written in Tioga Titan time frame. Um, and this has nothing to do with my my current fiance, who I love very much.
I
Um, but
definitely did
uh,
not think that it was.
no, I know. I'm just for anyone.
Everybody
Yeah,
listening,
like
yeah.
yeah, it's a very old song, and I think that because I don't know, like sometimes those songs you got to sit like away from them for a while, and
Mhm.
I think I'm there now, definitely. But yeah, there's anyways, the song the song took on a new direction and a new life when it became a duet,
Mm-hmm.
which is probably for the best because then I can separate myself from it so much more, and it becomes like an art piece and not just like a journal entry.
Been thinking about. I wanted to pick your brain about it because after you mentioned all of that, because I think that's something I've really been wrestling with in art lately. I mean, as you know, and as folks listening know, I've gone through,
Yeah.
quite the emotional time in the last couple of years with breakup specifically, and I wrote a lot once I got started to feel better. I couldn't write when I was in the muck, but I wrote a lot when I started to feel better. And some of those are love songs about new loves, and then that
Mhm.
love's gone. And deciding, like sometimes when I play those songs, or when I listen to, I very rarely go back and listen to Marinade episodes, but sometimes I do. Either it's because it's somebody I'm having on for a second time, or because I needed to remember something. And there are all these snapshots of my life, right? Each Marinade episode, I pour so much of my personal self into them that the whatever I was dealing with at that time is inevitably going to come out. And
Right.
um, one of the things I've been working on lately, because I am feeling great right now, is like getting to a place where I just can look at those things as learning experiences and take the piece of art as the piece of art. And like that was interesting to me also when I think about like this song and then also the emotional resonance of a very different type of love with daddy daughter time. And you just said earlier how like that one brought you to tears, right? Because it is
Mhm.
so personal and it does mean so much to you. And so that separation, I would think, when you have someone like Van who knows the situation, but also is a very strong leader. That's one of the things that Van. One of her greatest strengths is she's an incredibly strong leader and is pretty strong-willed person. So when you have two folks that are know what they're doing and are in that space, but it's an emotional story that's being told, I was curious, sort of like how comfortable you are at backing off and being able to step away from it. It sounds like you had to do quite a bit of work, but you were able to get there to be able to step out of it and go like, okay, now I have to think about the song. And that's a pretty special place to be in, I would think.
Right. So you go from songwriter who's always going to fight the producer to producer, but you're the same person. So you have to take a step back, right? Because you have to be like, yeah, this is my FU song when I was angry at someone. Uh, but now it's a duet with someone. So now there's another person that's like angry back, and that changes the dynamic. Maybe maybe it is better, but I got to sit on this because that's not the way emotionally I attached to it initially. But the thing is that like the songs that resonate the most with people sometimes are going to be the ones where you're not at all emotionally attached to it. I find like people will be
Mm.
like, "Man, that song brought me to tears," and I'm like, "Oh." That's awesome. I can't believe you went through that. And I'm like, I didn't at all. You know,
Yeah.
either that was a friend of mine or I just made up the story, but
Yeah.
that's all a part of songwriting, right? It's like you got to bring the best story. And I think that
Mm.
what Van Plating did was she took a song that was okay, that was just like a guy that was mad and trying to process grief,
Mm.
and she made it a more interesting dynamic of like a fight between two people,
Mm.
So by taking the perspective where it was like all like you suck, and then making it like you suck, like back and forth,
Mm.
it makes it a more interesting song. But it took me a few days to get there.
Man, that's great though. It's great that you did get there. That's such an interesting not having the other person's perspective, right? I've got a couple of fuck you songs and my ex is not involved in that song at all, except that I'm saying fuck you during it, but like
Hmm.
she's never even heard them, right? So like it would be interesting with some for me to take those songs to somebody and somebody like Van and have the, tell that story, have them kind of respond. That's just a good, like, healthy, not just from a creative standpoint, but maybe from a personal standpoint, just a healthy examination of the situation, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, and the thing is, I don't have like those feelings towards that person anymore.
Mm.
I think that I had feelings towards the song because uh, it was written as like a one way fuck you, and now it has to be a fight song, a back
Mm.
and forth, and it that changed the dynamic so much that it threw a wrench in the song to where I needed like some time to like think it over from a producer's perspective because I was too close to it as a songwriter's perspective. So
Mm.
that is one of the disadvantages of producing your own music is you have to separate all the different parts. Like you can't you have to let things go. Lyrically are they're already set, right? I'm not letting anything go. That's what I want it to be, right? And Liv and Van both changed some of the lyrics to make it more comfortable for their singing parts, right? Which totally makes sense, and adds a little bit of extra like texture and personality to it. Um, that's like you have to, from a producer's perspective, be like, it does like, it doesn't have to be so stringent. And, I think, uh, I think that a lot of songwriters make a demo and get really attached to that demo, and then they're just
Mm.
trying to record that demo with a full band or whatever. Um, and then you got to have your producer brain if you're going to be a real producer and not just like I'm producing, but you're just doing the demos with a band.
Mhm.
You've got to be able to back off sometimes have the ability to change some things and make them different and more nuanced. So yeah, I mean, like Van Plating is one of the best producers I know. So like, why was I fighting with her? I don't know. The songwriter side of me was fighting with her.
Yeah. No, that makes a ton of sense, especially when it's that personal. Well, okay, shifting gears just a little bit then, when we think about the entirety of the album and the themes, but also the perspectives, right? So there's a really personal song we just talked about. Daddy Daughter Time's a really personal song that we talked about. And then there's like Angola by 18.
Right.
So like can you talk about switching that headspace and, coming at it from different perspectives and different narrators and how comfortable you are in those different headspaces?
Yeah, well, I think that there's a story there to be told of. I mean, it's all said basically. I mean, and I didn't build it around this line. It literally came from. I think I heard someone say like, "Oh, they're going to be in Angola by 18" or something like that, and I was like,
Oh,
"That's a great
wow.
line. I'm going to make that
Yeah.
as I put it in my binder for later." But the line that kind of makes the song to me is the "Everybody loves an outlaw until they get caught,"
Yeah.
um, and I think that when I was just like spouting off stuff, trying to write the lyrics, it came out, and I was like, oh damn, like that's
Hmm.
actually that's so true, right? Because you love like the Waylands and Willies and all that stuff, but when they go to prison, they're just like, you know, yeah, you're a convict. You're
Yeah. Now you're in
you're no
prison.
longer the outlaw. You're just
Yeah.
like, yeah, you're in the prison system and rot.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where that part came from. And then it kind of, when I was in college, we actually did like a whole PR campaign for a company that worked with recidivism with inmates. Um,
Mm.
I believe through Angola and some other systems and stuff. But the idea was we don't want these people to keep there's like a recidivism rate that is like really high, at least in Louisiana. I don't know about probably everywhere, but basically like these people, they go back out into the real world and they don't know how to function anymore. And they try to rebuild their life, but they can't get a job. They're getting the
Mm.
$7 an hour at McDonald's. Everyone's kind of shunning them,
Mm.
and they don't feel like a real person. So like their survival is so much better in a prison system. So then they end up doing something stupid and returning to it
Mm.
because it almost like it just becomes their reality or whatever. That's like what they have to deal with. And so the song was kind of just about like this guy who is in that struggle, trying to like rebuild his life and make it better, but things happen, right? And
Mm.
you know, the that line about like everyone loves an outlaw until they get caught is just kind of I mean, it's really poking a hole in the whole outlaw country thing for sure. Um, because I think that it's kind of ridiculous how we hold these people up to like almost like a hero status. But then when they get caught, they turn into like these dirt bags or scum that deserve it, right? I just mean culturally in general, not necessarily what you or I think.
Yeah.
But so it. I mean, I always try to put like a little bit of like my thought on the culture without being like overly political.
Mm.
Kind of towing the line a little bit. So that's kind of my take on the penal system.
Man, that's great. And I've got some very strong thoughts about the penal system and the quote unquote justice system in America. And I've lived it. I've been on the education side of it where I've seen the school to prison pipeline up close and personal. I've then also been on the court side as a law clerk and seen it. In fact, to the point where I've done all of this stuff long enough that I had a student who was going through the court system that I ended up kind of mentoring, um, who was in drug court and one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. And this really cool program actually to try to like help people um, who were just drug offenders to get them help and get them back on their feet and put them in jobs programs. And he was on his path and then he OD'd and he's no longer with us. And so I've seen it from all those different perspectives, and I think it's important to continue shining light on problems like that because, and I appreciate this song and in your explanation of it for myriad reasons, but one of the big ones is like we're all so distracted right now by so many other terrifying things. And there's so much in the world that demands your attention. We're recording this the day after the president of the United States sent the military into Washington, D.C. to take over as a police force for no good reason except to distract from his own bullshit. And so that could dominate our thoughts right now. And in the meantime, there's average people who are in prison for maybe things that were just should have been minor situations or because they're just a victim of their circumstances. So I didn't mean to go on such a rant, but you got me fired up about it, thinking about it. And I appreciate that and the ability to go from, and they're not that far apart, I guess, to go from daddy daughter time, which is, this beautiful tribute to your daughter and your relationship with her, to a song like Angola by 18, which isn't biographical in that way, but yet is still meaningful and dear to your heart. That dexterity is very impressive.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, and just in general, why can't both of those songs be the same guy? You know, like a guy can
True.
love his daughter, you know, and also do stupid shit, you know.
Yeah.
Um, you know, it's and when that I guess that's you know like obviously I've never stole a Durango and or stole sorry stole a Chevrolet and drove down to Durango and
Yet.
you know yet and I don't have three different sons from three different women.
That one we don't have to worry about, I don't think. The
Yeah,
Durango thing, I don't know, man.
it could always happen, but you know the I and the kind of like in that song at the end the kind of turn where it takes so the youngest ended up in Angola by 18, you know, where like
Mhm.
there's like a almost generational curse around it because there even though right he's trying to run away old ghosts and he's working on a rig just trying to you know make some money and fix his life. Still one of his kids ends up in Angola by 18, right? And that perpetual thing happens again, right? And so the whole thing is like it's a fun, you know, it's a fun song, but there's a lot of, you know, thoughts I also have about, you know, yeah, it's just a commentary on the judicial system, but also kind of poking holes in the whole outlaw thing at the same time. Where I love outlaw music, I love Waylon, I love Willie, love Merle Haggard. Those three of my favorite, you know, country singers. But I don't even think they meant to do the outlaw thing that it came out to be. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to take a song where it kind of tore it apart a little bit and like in the idealization of being an outlaw a little bit.
Yeah, that there's where what I was gonna say is like that idealization of it, this sort of making it something that they never intended it to be, right? Like I think there's a way I'm paraphrasing here, but there's a Waylon Jennings quote about how if you're truly badass, you don't have to tell anybody how badass you are. It was other
Yeah.
people that were talking about those guys as outlaws. They were just doing their own thing, right? And so I think now it's sort of there's like a in some circles of the culture, there's this idea that you have to also be tough in some way or whatever. And like Willie's tough in his own way, but he's not like, I don't think of Willie as like other than a fictional gunfighter, an actual gunfighter, right? Or something like that. And so I do think it's interesting how that term outlaw has evolved over the years. And so I like the conversation a lot. I really enjoy that conversation actually, especially as we think about how things are presented in the culture and who we think of in those spaces. Um, how do you see like when you think about your space in country music or in I guess music in general? Like, do you think at all about sort of you in that space and like what you want, how you want people to sort of view you as an artist?
Um, no, I don't think I do. I hate that that's the answer, but you know, when I'm sitting down writing a song, I'm writing a song that means something to me, right? Like I love when it means something to someone else, you know. And I fought the last 10 years to write the songs that I felt could mean something to other people too.
Mm.
Because I've definitely written a lot of songs that have meant stuff to me and then just weren't really resonating as much with people. Um, I don't really think about it too much because I don't see myself ever being like, you know, I'm not going to say Morgan Wallen because there's so much negative connotation to him, but I don't see myself being like Luke Bryan. I don't see myself being Johnny Cash, you know, maybe Johnny Paycheck, but like, you know, like not, I don't know, like I'm not, I'm not trying to place myself um, in a certain, you know, there's a lot of people out there trying to be Tyler Childers. There is a Tyler Childers, you know. There's a lot of people out there trying
Buddy.
to,
Yeah.
yeah, trying to be Waylon Jennings or whatever. There's already a Waylon Jennings. I'm just writing the songs that resonate with me and hopefully resonate with other people. And I don't really overthink it anymore. I think I did when I was younger, but
Yeah. I think that's that the Tyler Childers thing. I've said a lot about it but in other venues. I don't know if I've ever talked about it on this show, but I think Tyler's a generational genius. I think he's a very like special artist, and especially the last 3 or 4 records. I mean, basically since that man stopped drinking, he's just been putting out magic after magic after magic. And the other stuff is great too. I'm not shitting on any of that. It is wonderful, but I just think the guy's on a different level. And there's a whole generation. It makes me feel old, but there's a whole generation of songwriters coming up that were inspired by him, and he's a generation behind me. But there's a whole generation of folks that are inspired by the work that he did, and they do sound, a lot of them, like, and I'm not going to name any names, but they sound like they're doing an imitation of Tyler Childers. And I love that. I love your answer to that question, actually, because to me, like, the artists that I gravitate toward are doing their own damn thing. And sure, you're going to be influenced by other people, but it is remarkable to me how many people are basically just doing a carbon copy of Purgatory. And there's just one Purgatory. You ain't gonna get there.
Right.
So, like, there's one Waylon Jennings. You ain't gonna get there. Sturgill just happens to sound like Waylon Jennings. He's not trying to be him, you know? So I really appreciate that answer, actually. I like it a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that's the truth. Like, I mean, you know, at the end of the day, I can try to write a Willie Nelson song, but it's just going to sound like Will Payne Harrison, and
Yeah.
no one's going to go, oh, well, they might, a little bit on High as Willie or something where I tried really hard to, do, like the solo and stuff is very Willie inspired, but like overall, like, right, it's just I'm comfortable and it took me a long time because I think a lot of singers they want like hell yeah, I want to sound like Merle Haggard. Have you heard his voice? I want to sound like George Jones. I don't know how to sing like that, man.
Yeah.
I don't even know the first like I've tried. I don't
Yeah.
know the first thing about trying to sound like George Jones. I don't think anyone does. But
Right.
like those people already exist. If you want to listen to them, you're going to listen to them. Why would you want to listen to you know, a Kmart version, a Timu
Yeah.
version of those people? For me, like I've got my voice. It's just it is what it is, and I have my writing style, and I'm comfortable with it. And I don't really think about I don't think I think about my place necessarily in the country music world. I think I just I don't know. I don't know how to answer that with a nice tight little bow.
I don't think you need a bow on it. I think you answered the question quite well, and I appreciate it. And okay, so I've been sort of starting to wrap things up. I always end on what we're getting down on, but before I get to that, the thing that's been at the forefront of my mind when I talk to pretty much anybody, but especially artists right now, is sort of what you're doing, how you're accessing community for yourself and the people around you. Are there ways that you're able to sort of create community right now? And I don't just, it could be artistic community, but I just mean more generally as we are in such an uncertain world and as shit seems so heavy all the time and it's terrifying to me, at least a lot of the time. Like, what does community look like for you right now?
Yeah, I mean, I miss the old Twitter a lot of times because
Dude,
yeah,
that's how we connected.
yeah, I feel like the community well has dried up a little bit because of algorithms. And that's really unfortunate for like social media and trying to like authentically connect with people.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like what is like community in the artist world, I've definitely obviously these people are all over my record. We've got Austin Mays and Jason Harrell and Steffi G, Tim Curris, and of course, Matt Moran and Liv and Van Plating and so many, more people that I'm probably forgetting right now. Christopher Lockett played harmonica. So all these wonderful people who are super talented. Of course, Dan Moran. Why am I not mentioning Dan Moran? Jeez, he played bass with me all summer. He played keys on the record. It's like just all these incredible people who are genuinely friends and genuinely people I want to continue working with, and we've built up this community where we're trying to like rise up together.
Mm.
Um, and I didn't mention too much, but like I also do like mastering. I do video editing. I do photography and stuff like that. I've done some mastering for Matt Moran, James Guetta. I recently did some stuff for Ben Jarrell, video stuff. Like I love doing that and building that community, because Ben doesn't need any help. He's already got like a lot of people that love him, right? But there's this whole like Twitter community that he's not really like a part of, that like I can at least be like, hey, here's Ben, and he's got like a few more fans, right?
Mm.
Um, and in turn, like Ben, is like shouting my name from the rooftops too, because like he played on the last record we did that deluxe version, and he did uh oh my God, what was Lover's Arms with me, so we did a
Hmm.
duet on that one, and just like building that community. I've probably said it on my old podcast before, but I was listening to a radio interview of War and Treaty, and they were talking about working with one of their producers, and I can't think of his name right now, but super famous guy too. But anyways, he was saying like if you want to grow, you really need to like build your community. And I mean, look at him now, right? This was like probably 5 years ago that I heard that interview and was like, wow, like I really want to like build that community too. And it's so true because when you invest with other musicians, you really cheer them on. You really want to see
Hmm.
them grow, and that's the thing. Like if Matt Moran or Van Plating are playing Red Rocks next year, I'll buy a freaking ticket and go and watch them. I don't care. I'm not gonna like care if I'm on stage or not. I'm just excited that my friends are like being successful, and that's the community I want to be a part of, where like everyone is cheering on each other and not being like, where's my piece, but like
Hmm.
we're doing this for each other. We're like rising up together. And I think that that community definitely was a lot of that was built on Twitter, but it's
Hmm.
still here, and we still have it. So
I'm gonna make a quick plug just for like everybody to come back to Twitter, because I think that more than the algorithm is the big problem, is that so many people left, and we're still there. A lot of the people that you mentioned on the record, I interact with a fair amount on Twitter, and still to this day. But there's so many people that jump ship, and I understand why they did. Nazis are bad, but
yeah.
Nazis are fucking everywhere. Like going over to Zuckerberg's platform isn't less Nazi, maybe less blatantly Nazi, but it's still, to me, it's like we should either all go over to Blue Sky, which I've enjoyed quite a bit, or but there's hardly anybody there. Or we should all come back to Twitter. And because I agree with you, man. You and I connected that way. I mean, Van and I connected kind of through just the podcast, but really our relationship was built on Twitter, and then we met, and then we became friends off of the internet. And I mean, I feel like Liv's a friend of mine, and I've never actually met Liv in real life. I can go on and on and on of all these people, a lot of the folks that you just mentioned, because we do have that community, and I still see it. I still see people picking each other up, and Chris Margolin was on the show recently, and his
Yeah.
latest record, like how much everybody was just like trumpeting this, and it's a wonderful record, and it deserved it, right? So like everybody's pushing it and helping get the word out about it. I'm with you, man, and I found such community there. So this is my plug for everybody to just come on back. Fascists are everywhere. We might as well have each other.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to like kind of curate a Twitter feed that like a lot of that just doesn't penetrate.
Me
So
too. I don't ever see that shit. I do not. I see you and Chris, and I'm the same dude. But now, granted, I've been on it since 2007, and I've like, or well, not seven. I don't know, pretty early, nine, I guess, 9 or 10. So like, I've been on it for a long time. Is my point, and I've muted words and
yep, yep.
blocked people, and like I'm pretty aggressive about that to this day. So to me, it's all sports and music. That's pretty much it. Like that,
Also,
I get.
stop feeding the trolls. Stop feeding the
Yeah,
trolls.
yeah, Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right, dude, this has been such a pleasure. And it's so funny to me. I had on my list of things to talk about. I was going to talk about photography and stuff, but I feel like we could talk about that forever as well. So maybe we just need to do another one of these sometime because you are
Yes.
such a, you have so many talents and so many outlets for your creativity. But we usually end on what you're getting down on. So that's the art that has you fired up at the moment. Could be music you're listening to, could be a painting you saw recently, a TV show. I don't know, any kind of art.
King of the Hill.
Oh yeah, the new King of the Hill.
Yeah, man, it's great. Go
Nice.
watch it if you haven't.
I haven't.
No, but I mean, I have to say that because I have been watching it. It's been super awesome to have all the characters back. But for real, shoot, I'm trying to think of music because I will. It's so hard because there's so
Yeah.
much. Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
hey, here's what I'll say. Check out the Marinated Pain playlist.
Everybody,
Right?
yes, check out our playlist that we curate together, Marinated Pain. There's a lot of cool shit on there, and we've been having fun with it. I think both of us got kind of distracted for a little while, but then I know I've been coming back to it, and I haven't looked at it in a couple of days. This is a great sell. I'm doing a great job selling our playlist right now. But there is a lot of really great stuff on there, and we are having fun with it. So on Spotify, check out Marinated Pain for sure. Follow us on socials too, because we interact quite a bit over there, and you can see all of our hijinks, everybody. Dude, this has been such a pleasure. I appreciate you so much, and I'm really excited for folks to hear the record. I'm gonna get this turned around as quickly as possible, but
Awesome.
the record will be out by the time folks hear this conversation. So, if you are hearing this and you haven't listened to the record yet, go dial it up, order a physical copy. Hopefully your dog doesn't eat it like mine did his last record. Um, True story. My dog Conundrum ate Tioga Titan, the deluxe
No,
edition. Remember that? And not only that, he ate that and the hat that I ordered.
oh,
Um,
that's right.
so
Did you ever get another hat?
no,
I need to get you one.
I don't think so. No, I don't have one now, unless he ate that one too, and I forgot about it. But um, you heard it here first. Will Payne Harrison merch is delicious, and you should get some and go listen to the record, buddy. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, dude. Have a great night.
Will Payne Harrison, y'all. Thank you so much, Will. Thank all of you for listening. WillPayneHarrison.com for all things Will. He's got great merch over there, physical copies of his new record, Stll Feelin The Payne. Speaking of which, the song you're hearing in this episode is Angola by 18 that we talked about during the episode and is on Stll Feelin The Payne. MarinadePodcast.com for all things The Marinade. Follow us on socials. We're even on Facebook, y'all. Back on Facebook, I should say. Subscribe and give a 5-star rating on your podcast app. Tell a friend about the show. These are all free ways to support the Marinade. Go do that right now while you're listening, please. It makes a big difference for us and costs so little of your time and energy. Also follow Life's Greatest Hits on Instagram, on all the socials, really. We're on Twitter and Blue Sky as well. YouTube, pretty much anywhere you can find social media, you can find Life's Greatest Hits. We're 12 episodes deep, and the most recent episode features the new album, Snipe Hunter from Tyler Childers. Just so much fun. Our good friend Tyler Hood joined us for that one. Thank you all for listening. If you really like what we're doing, please consider joining our Patreon community. Just $2 a month, y'all. You can get access to Patreon exclusive content like our show Jason's Journey, where I talk about the moments that shape my creative life and provide a window into the process of making the Marinade. If you've ever been curious about Patreon, now would be an excellent time to dive in. The world's fucking crazy, y'all. We need community. Fascism is here in America. It has been, and we knew it was coming. They told us it was coming. It's here. Let's lean into each other. And that's not me just saying, give me money. If you can swing it, do that. But also just send me a fucking message on socials or email me or whatever. The more we can do this community thing, the better. Bucket, leave it, bud. And I'm just so grateful for all of you who listen. If you want to support the show financially, but you don't want to commit to a monthly subscription, I totally get that. You can Venmo. Bucket. Bucket. Hey, leave it. Or PayPal us just at the Marinade. Y'all, I'm so good boy. Yeah, come here. Good job. I'm doing the podcast. Yeah, you're a good boy. Things are great. Absolutely fantastic for me. So thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being on this journey. And until next time, go out and create something. Cheers, y'all. Jesus Christ, Bucket.